Slide 1. Introduction to SDG 16, Building Peace, Justice and Strong Institutions. Continuing from the previous day's presentation, today your host, Harshit Simha, will maintain the momentum of our discussion by exploring Sustainable Development Goal 16, which represents a foundational and ambitious commitment within the Global Development Agenda to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. This goal is not merely a standalone objective but is widely recognized as a critical enabler for achieving all other sustainable development goals. Without peace, justice, and effective governance, progress in areas like health, education, poverty reduction, and climate action remains fragile and uneven. As the presentation outlines, SDG 16 addresses the very bedrock of how societies function. It moves beyond traditional development metrics to focus on the quality of institutions and the rule of law, emphasizing that true sustainability is impossible in contexts plagued by conflict, corruption, and impunity. The goal encompasses a wide range of targets, including the significant reduction of all forms of violence, the end of abuse and exploitation, the development of transparent institutions, and the ensuring of public access to information and fundamental freedoms. This comprehensive exploration will delve into the core concepts underpinning this crucial goal, analyzing its global significance and the complex obstacles that hinder its implementation. A special focus will be placed on India, a nation of immense diversity and scale, to examine its unique challenges and notable achievements in strengthening governance and justice systems. By investigating both global contexts and specific national experiences, the presentation aims to provide a nuanced understanding of the innovative approaches and persistent efforts required to build a world where peace, justice, and strong institutions are a reality for all. Slide 2. Understanding SDG 16, Core Concepts. Sustainable Development Goal 16 is foundational to the entire 2030 Agenda, built upon three interdependent pillars: peace, justice, and strong institutions. These core concepts recognize that sustainable development is unattainable in environments plagued by conflict, injustice, and ineffective governance. The first pillar, peace, extends beyond the mere absence of war. It encompasses the reduction of all forms of violence, including armed conflict, homicide, and violence against children. Crucially, it also targets the elimination of abuse, exploitation, and trafficking, aiming to create societies where individuals are safe from physical and psychological harm. This concept of positive peace is essential for fostering stable communities where development can take root. The second pillar, justice, is centered on the principle of the rule of law. It mandates equal access to justice for all, irrespective of background or socioeconomic status. This involves ensuring that legal systems are fair, efficient, and accessible. A key component is providing legal identity for all, including birth registration, which is fundamental to accessing rights and services and preventing statelessness. The third pillar, institutions, focuses on the quality of governance. It calls for institutions at all levels, local, national, and international, to be effective, accountable, and transparent. This involves combating corruption and ensuring that decision-making is inclusive, participatory, and responsive to the needs of the people. Strong institutions are the machinery that delivers both peace and justice, creating an enabling environment where human rights are protected, and all other SDGs can be advanced. Together, these three core concepts form the bedrock of a just, equitable, and sustainable society. Slide 3. The global significance of SDG 16, the cornerstone of the 2030 Agenda. Sustainable Development Goal 16, dedicated to promoting peaceful and inclusive societies, providing access to justice for all, and building effective, accountable institutions, is increasingly recognized as the foundational enabler for the entire sustainable development framework. Its global significance transcends the goal itself, acting as a critical catalyst and prerequisite for achieving all other SDGs. The interconnected pillars of human rights advancement, social stability, economic development, and the rule of law form a synergistic framework essential for lasting progress. Human rights advancement, the protection of fundamental freedoms and the promotion of inclusive decision-making are central to SDG 16. When human rights are upheld and civic space is protected, communities can participate meaningfully in their own development. Conversely, the erosion of these rights directly undermines development efforts. The UN Human Rights Office, OHCHR, has consistently documented how restrictions on freedoms of expression, assembly, and association since 2021 have exacerbated inequalities and hindered effective responses to global crises, from the COVID-19 pandemic to climate change, OHCHR, 2022. Advancing human rights is thus not merely an ethical imperative but a practical necessity for creating resilient and legitimate governance systems. Social stability. SDG 16's focus on reducing conflict, violence, and insecurity is directly tied to social cohesion. Societies plagued by violence cannot focus on education, SDG 4, health, SDG 3, or ending poverty, SDG 1. The World Bank's Fragility and Conflict, on the front lines of the fight against poverty, 2024, report starkly illustrates this link, noting that by 2030, up to two-thirds of the world's extreme poor could be living in settings characterized by fragility and conflict. Investing in conflict prevention, justice, and effective policing, as championed by SDG 16, is therefore a direct investment in the basic stability required for any social development program to succeed. Economic development. The slide correctly identifies that SDG 16 creates stable environments for investment. This is a cornerstone of economic development, SDG 8. Investors, both domestic and foreign, require predictability, secure property rights, and enforceable contracts, all products of a functioning legal system and low corruption. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has extensively researched this correlation, finding that improvements in governance, such as controlling corruption and strengthening the rule of law, can significantly boost GDP growth per capita. Their analyses suggest that these institutional improvements are as critical, if not more so, than investments in physical infrastructure, IMF, 2023. Stable economies born from strong institutions are better equipped to create jobs, foster innovation, and generate the public revenue needed to fund essential services. Rule of law. The rule of law, described as the building of fair and consistent legal frameworks, is the operational backbone of SDG 16. It ensures that no one is above the law, protects the vulnerable from abuse, and provides a mechanism for the peaceful resolution of disputes. A reliable justice system is a key component of this. According to the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, and the UN Development Programme, UNDP, a staggering 1.5 billion people globally had an unresolved justice problem as of 2023, highlighting a vast deficit in access to justice that perpetuates poverty and exclusion, UNODC and UNDP, 2023. Strengthening the rule of law is fundamental to building public trust, which in turn fosters compliance with regulations, tax systems, and public health measures. In conclusion, the global significance of SDG 16 lies in its role as the essential substrate for sustainable development. Without progress on peace, justice, and strong institutions, efforts to achieve goals in health, education, climate action, and economic prosperity remain vulnerable to collapse. It is the practical, non-idealistic foundation upon which a secure, prosperous, and equitable future for all must be built. Slide 4. Global challenges to peace and justice. The pursuit of peace and justice, as encapsulated in Sustainable Development Goal 16, faces profound and interconnected global challenges. These obstacles create negative feedback loops that are difficult to break, perpetuating cycles of instability and poverty. Armed conflict remains a primary driver of human suffering and a major barrier to development. While the slide cites 2020 figures, the situation has worsened. By mid 2024, the UNHCR reported that forced displacement had surged to an estimated 120 million people globally. Conflicts in Ukraine, Sudan, and Gaza, alongside protracted crises in Syria and Yemen, continue to devastate communities, destroy infrastructure, and reverse decades of development progress, UNHCR, 2024. Simultaneously, corruption siphons essential resources away from public services, eroding the social contract. The World Bank emphasizes that corruption is a significant catalyst for fragility, as it fuels popular grievances, undermines state legitimacy, and cripples economic growth. It diverts funds that are critical for healthcare, education, and infrastructure, directly impacting the most vulnerable populations and deepening inequality, World Bank, 2023. Compounding these issues is a pervasive access to justice gap. As highlighted by the OECD and UNDP, billions of people, particularly women, the poor, and other marginalized groups, cannot resolve their justice problems. This includes issues related to land rights, employment, and family law. When legal systems are inaccessible, corrupt, or ineffective, grievances fester, rights go unprotected, and cycles of exclusion and poverty are reinforced. OECD and UNDP, 2023. These challenges are deeply synergistic. Corruption weakens state institutions, making them incapable of managing conflict or delivering justice. In turn, conflict creates environments where corruption thrives and justice systems collapse. Addressing these intertwined issues requires holistic, coordinated interventions that strengthen institutions, promote transparency, and prioritize justice for all. Slide 5. Justice innovation worldwide. Faced with a global justice gap where billions lack meaningful access to legal recourse, innovative solutions are emerging to make justice systems more accessible, efficient, and responsive. These innovations are not replacing traditional courts but are creating diverse pathways to resolve disputes, particularly for marginalized and remote populations. A key innovation is the use of mobile courts, which physically bring judicial services to underserved communities. As documented by the World Bank's Justice Reform Practice Group, initiatives in countries like Madagascar and Uganda have successfully resolved land and civil disputes in rural areas, significantly reducing case backlogs and fostering greater public trust in the state's legitimacy by making the law visibly present. World Bank, 2022. Simultaneously, the digital transformation of justice is advancing through online dispute resolution, ODR. These platforms are crucial for expanding access. A flagship example is the UK's Home Courts and Tribunals Service, which has integrated ODR for certain civil money claims. An independent evaluation by the Legal Education Foundation highlighted that such online systems can provide a more user-friendly and less intimidating experience for litigants, while also improving administrative efficiency for the court system. HMCTS Evaluation, 2023. Furthermore, alternative justice mechanisms like mediation and restorative justice continue to gain recognition for their role in delivering context-specific solutions. UNODC's global program on the implementation of the Doha Declaration has supported such initiatives, noting that alternative methods can effectively reduce prison overcrowding, address the specific needs of vulnerable groups, and promote social cohesion by focusing on repair and reconciliation rather than purely punitive measures. UNODC, 2024. These innovations, mobile, digital, and alternative, succeed by adapting the delivery of justice to local needs and modern realities. They demonstrate that overcoming the justice gap requires a multi-pronged approach that prioritizes accessibility without compromising on the core principles of fairness and due process, ultimately strengthening the rule of law for all. Slide 6. Institutional challenges worldwide. The effective, accountable, and transparent institutions envisioned by Sustainable Development Goal 16 face profound challenges globally. These institutional weaknesses represent a critical barrier to sustainable development, peace, and justice, undermining the very foundations of the social contract between states and their citizens. A primary concern is the widespread trend of democratic backsliding. As highlighted in the slide, this regression affects billions. The International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, International IDEA, confirms this trend, reporting in its 2024 Global State of Democracy report that the number of countries moving toward authoritarianism now exceeds those democratizing. This erosion includes restrictions on civic space, attacks on media freedom, and the undermining of electoral integrity, which collectively weaken governmental accountability. International IDEA, 2024. Closely linked to this is the persistent threat to judicial independence. When courts are subject to political interference or executive overreach, the rule of law crumbles. A 2023 report from the World Justice Project, WJP, noted declining scores for constraints on government powers and fundamental rights in many regions, indicating that the checks and balances essential for preventing the abuse of power are weakening globally. World Justice Project, 2023. Furthermore, many institutions grapple with severe capacity limitations. This includes a lack of funding, outdated technology, and insufficient training for public officials. The United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, emphasizes that these deficits are particularly acute in post-conflict and developing nations, where governments struggle to deliver basic services, enforce regulations, and manage public resources effectively, creating a vicious cycle of low trust and poor performance. UNDP, 2023. Finally, achieving genuine security sector reform remains a formidable challenge. Ensuring that police and military forces are accountable to civilian oversight and respect human rights is essential for public safety and trust. However, as documented by organizations like Amnesty International, impunity for security forces and their use for political repression continue to be reported in numerous countries, hindering the establishment of legitimate and just security institutions. Amnesty International, 2024. These interconnected challenges, democratic erosion, compromised judiciaries, insufficient capacity, and unaccountable security forces, create a formidable barrier to achieving SDG 16. Addressing them requires sustained political will, international cooperation, and investment in the foundational pillars of good governance. Slide 7. Institutional Reform Success Stories. In the face of significant global institutional challenges, several countries provide inspiring and instructive success stories. These cases demonstrate that with strategic vision and sustained commitment, profound institutional reform is achievable, delivering tangible benefits in governance, economic performance, and public trust. A landmark example is Estonia's e-governance. The country's digital transformation, initiated in the 1990s, has made 99% of public services available online. According to the World Bank, this has not only enhanced efficiency and transparency but also served as a powerful anti-corruption tool by reducing discretionary contact between citizens and officials. The system is estimated to save an amount equivalent to 2% of GDP annually in administrative costs, proving that investment in digital infrastructure yields massive returns. World Bank, 2023. Similarly, Georgia's tax reform in the mid-2000s serves as a classic case study in rebuilding a critical institution. By simplifying the tax code, aggressively combating corruption within the revenue service, and ensuring strict enforcement, the government increased tax compliance from a mere 35% to over 98% within a few years. The International Monetary Fund has highlighted this reform as a key driver of Georgia's subsequent economic growth, showing how institutional integrity directly fuels development. IMF, 2022. In Africa, Rwanda's decentralization program has been pivotal in rebuilding state-society relations post-conflict. By devolving power and resources to local governments, the reform brought decision-making closer to the people, improving the responsiveness of public services like healthcare and education. The OECD has noted that this approach enhanced citizen participation and accountability, contributing to Rwanda's rapid progress on many development indicators. OECD, 2024. Furthermore, Botswana's police reforms, which emphasized community policing, significantly boosted public trust to 81%. This model, focused on building relationships rather than purely punitive measures, improved crime reporting and cooperation. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime has cited such community-oriented approaches as best practices for enhancing security and strengthening the legitimacy of state institutions. UNODC, 2023. These diverse successes from Estonia, Georgia, Rwanda, and Botswana share common ingredients: clear political will, a focus on measurable results, consistent implementation beyond political cycles, and active efforts to engage citizens. They provide a powerful blueprint for how to build effective, accountable institutions that are the bedrock of sustainable development. Slide 8. High-impact global strategies for SDG 16. Achieving the ambitious targets of Sustainable Development Goal 16 requires moving beyond traditional approaches to embrace innovative, high-impact strategies that strengthen institutions, expand access to justice, and combat corruption from the ground up. Evidence from recent years highlights several key strategies delivering tangible results. Legal empowerment has emerged as a powerful tool for closing the justice gap. This approach equips ordinary people with the knowledge and skills to understand and use the law. A leading organization in this field, Namati, has documented how community paralegals in countries like Sierra Leone and Kenya have resolved over 75,000 cases related to land, healthcare, and environmental justice. These frontline advocates provide a critical bridge between marginalized communities and the formal justice system, resolving disputes efficiently and empowering citizens to claim their rights. Namity, 2023. Complementing this is the global push for open government. Initiatives that mandate transparency in public procurement, open data, and participatory budgeting have proven effective in curbing corruption. The Open Government Partnership (OGP), a multilateral initiative with over 75 member countries, reports that these reforms have led to significant outcomes, including the uncovering of corrupt contracts and improved efficiency in public spending by allowing citizens to directly scrutinize government activities. Open Government Partnership, 2024. Furthermore, data-driven solutions are revolutionizing institutional accountability. In the context of security sector reform, the use of data analytics helps police departments allocate resources more effectively and identify patterns of misconduct. The World Bank's global governance practice has promoted the use of such evidence-based metrics to monitor police performance, moving accountability beyond anecdotal evidence to systematic, data-led oversight. World Bank, 2023. Finally, establishing institutional accountability through independent oversight bodies, such as anti-corruption commissions and supreme audit institutions, is fundamental. The effectiveness of such bodies, however, depends on their genuine independence and authority. The United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, coalition consistently advocates for these mechanisms to be free from political interference, ensuring they can hold even the most powerful actors to account. UNCAC Coalition, 2024. These strategies, legal empowerment, open government, data-driven policy, and robust oversight, represent a holistic toolkit. By working simultaneously from the grassroots and the top down, they offer a viable pathway to building the peaceful, just, and inclusive institutions that are the cornerstone of sustainable development. Slide 9. Measuring progress on SDG 16. Tracking global advancement on Sustainable Development Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, is a complex but critical endeavor, revealing a landscape of mixed and often concerning results. While some administrative areas show improvement, foundational elements of good governance face significant challenges, and the very process of measurement presents unique methodological hurdles. The Sustainable Development Report 2024, published by the Cambridge University Press, provides a comprehensive overview of this mixed progress. It notes that indicators such as birth registration, a fundamental form of legal identity, have seen positive trends. However, more complex dimensions like homicide rates, corruption perception, and access to justice show stagnation or regression in many regions, indicating that the core ambitions of SDG 16 remain largely unfulfilled. Sustainable Development Report, 2024. A primary challenge in this field is that many of SDG 16's targets are qualitative in nature, resisting simple quantification. How does one accurately measure effective, accountable, and transparent institutions, or inclusive decision-making? To address this, the global community relies on a combination of official administrative data and specialized indices. The World Justice Project, WJP, Rule of Law Index is a key resource, providing annual, data-driven assessments of how the rule of law is experienced by people worldwide. It aggregates data from surveys of the general public and legal experts to measure factors like constraints on government powers, absence of corruption, and fundamental rights, offering a nuanced picture that pure administrative data cannot. World Justice Project, 2023. Furthermore, initiatives like the SDG 16 Data Initiative, a consortium of civil society organizations, work to triangulate data from multiple sources, including official UN statistics, GO reports, and academic research. This approach helps to counterbalance potential biases in government-reported data and provides a more robust, multi-stakeholder view of progress, particularly on sensitive issues like civic space and corruption. SDG 16 Data Initiative, 2024. In conclusion, measuring SDG 16 requires a sophisticated toolkit that moves beyond simple metrics. While data shows we are succeeding in some technical areas, the deeper institutional transformations required for lasting peace and justice are proving harder to achieve and even harder to quantify, demanding continued refinement of our monitoring approaches to ensure no one is left behind. Slide 10. India's Justice System, Achievements and Challenges. India's justice system, founded on a robust constitutional framework guaranteeing fundamental rights and an independent judiciary, presents a complex picture of significant achievements juxtaposed with profound operational challenges. While its institutional foundations are strong, the system struggles with a massive backlog that impedes timely justice delivery for millions. A key achievement is the powerful mechanism of public interest litigation, PIL, which has historically allowed the Supreme Court and High Courts to address grievances on behalf of marginalized groups and enforce public accountability. Furthermore, the National Legal Services Authority, NALSA, provides a constitutional mandate for free legal aid to the poor and vulnerable. According to NALSA's own reporting, these services have been instrumental in providing legal assistance in millions of cases, though demand still vastly outstrips supply. NALSA, 2023. Digitization through the e-Courts Mission Mode project represents a major modernizing effort. The project has digitized millions of case records and made live case status accessible online. As of 2024, over 18,000 courts have been computerized, and the integration of video conferencing has been a critical step, especially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, for ensuring continuity of judicial proceedings. E-Committee, Supreme Court of India, 2024. However, these achievements are overshadowed by the system's immense challenges. The most critical is the staggering backlog of over 50 million cases across all tiers of the judiciary, as per the National Judicial Data Grid. This leads to excruciating delays, with the Economic Survey 2022-23 noting that in economic cases, these delays can reduce annual GDP growth by several percentage points, highlighting the direct economic cost of judicial inefficiency. Ministry of Finance, 2023. A chronic shortage of judges, with nearly 30% of sanctioned posts vacant in the High Courts alone, exacerbates this crisis. Department of Justice, 2024. The result is a justice system that is constitutionally sound but operationally overburdened. While digital initiatives and legal aid provide crucial avenues for relief, systemic reforms aimed at filling judicial vacancies, strengthening alternative dispute resolution, and improving court infrastructure are urgently needed to translate the promise of justice into a tangible reality for all citizens. Slide 11. India's institution building efforts. India has undertaken a series of ambitious and large-scale institutional reforms aimed at strengthening governance, enhancing financial inclusion, and improving the delivery of public services. These efforts represent a significant commitment to building the effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions envisioned by SDG 16. A cornerstone of this institutional transformation is the Aadhaar system, the world's largest biometric digital identity program. With over 1.3 billion residents enrolled, it has become a critical platform for verifying identity. The World Bank's 2023 ID4D dataset highlights that such robust digital ID systems can significantly reduce leakage in government transfer programs, and Aadhaar has been instrumental in streamlining the delivery of subsidies and welfare benefits directly to beneficiaries. World Bank ID4D, 2023. Complementing Aadhaar is the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, PMJD, a national mission for financial inclusion. As reported by the Ministry of Finance in 2024, the program has successfully opened over 500 million bank accounts, bringing a vast unbanked population into the formal financial system. This has not only empowered citizens but also created a digital infrastructure that facilitates direct benefit transfers, thereby enhancing transparency and reducing corruption. Ministry of Finance, 2024. In parallel, the Digital India Initiative has sought to transform the entire ecosystem of public services through technology. The initiative's umbrella platform, the National Government Services Portal, has made hundreds of services, from applying for documents to paying utility bills, accessible online. An independent assessment by the OECD in its 2024 Government at a Glance report noted that such comprehensive e-governance strategies are key to improving public sector efficiency and citizen trust. OECD, 2024. Furthermore, India has continued to empower local governance through the Panchayati Raj institutions. Constitutional amendments have ensured a devolution of funds, functions, and functionaries to these local bodies. Crucially, mandated reservations have ensured that over 1.4 million elected representatives in PRI are women, fostering more inclusive decision-making at the grassroots level and strengthening the democratic fabric of the nation. Ministry of Panchayati Raj, 2023. These interconnected efforts, Aadhaar, financial inclusion, digital governance, and local empowerment, demonstrate a holistic approach to institution building. By leveraging technology and constitutional mandates, India is systematically working to create a more accessible, efficient, and inclusive governance structure for its massive and diverse population. Slide 12. Peace challenges in India. India's significant achievements in institution building and economic development are tested by persistent and complex peace challenges that stem from its vast size, regional diversity, and intricate social fabric. These challenges, which span regional conflicts, communal tensions, and urban violence, pose substantial threats to social cohesion, human security, and sustainable development. A primary challenge lies in regional conflicts, particularly in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and states in the northeast. While the government's approach has combined security operations with development packages, organizations like Human Rights Watch have documented ongoing concerns regarding counterterrorism operations and the impact on civilian life in these regions. Human Rights Watch, 2024. Similarly, the long-standing left-wing extremism, LWE, or Naxalite conflict, in central India continues to pose security and governance challenges, though its geographical footprint has reduced over time. Perhaps the most pervasive challenge to everyday peace is the recurrence of communal tensions. Incidents of violence and discrimination along religious and caste lines continue to affect social harmony. The annual report of the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, USCIRF, for 2024 has repeatedly expressed concerns about the status of religious minorities in India, citing incidents of violence, discriminatory policies, and a culture of impunity as USCIRF 2024. These tensions undermine the constitutional promise of equal protection under the law and disproportionately impact vulnerable communities. Furthermore, urban violence and high crime rates, particularly against women and marginalized groups, highlight systemic issues within law enforcement and the justice system. The National Crime Records Bureau (NCRB) data for 2023 continues to show a high volume of registered crimes against women, underscoring the urgent need for effective policing, judicial reforms, and community-oriented safety initiatives. NCRB 2023. In response, the government has deployed a multi-pronged strategy involving security measures, development programs in conflict-affected areas, and legal frameworks. These are complemented by vital, though often under-resourced, community-based efforts. Civil society-led interfaith dialogues, youth engagement programs in former extremist strongholds, and grassroots peacebuilding initiatives play a crucial role in addressing the underlying grievances and social fractures that fuel these conflicts. The path to lasting peace in India requires a sustained commitment to addressing both the symptoms and the root causes through a balanced approach of security, justice, and inclusive development. Slide 13. Corruption, India's institutional challenge. Corruption remains a profound institutional challenge in India, acting as a significant brake on development, eroding public trust, and distorting the equitable delivery of services. Despite concerted efforts, it persists as a complex issue affecting both high-level governance and the daily lives of ordinary citizens, from accessing basic public services to interacting with law enforcement. India's position in global indices reflects this ongoing struggle. While it has shown some improvement, Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index, CPI, 2024 ranks India 93 out of 180 countries, indicating a persistent perception of corruption in the public sector. The report highlights the need for stronger integrity frameworks and better protection for whistleblowers to solidify gains. Transparency International, 2024. The pervasiveness of the problem is evident across key sectors. As suggested by the slide's chart, institutions like the police and land administration are often perceived as particularly vulnerable. This is corroborated by the Center for Media Studies, CMS, India Corruption Study 2023, which found that a significant percentage of households reported paying bribes for essential services, with the police and land-related services being among the top departments where such petty corruption occurs. In response, the government has deployed a two-pronged strategy. The first is legal and institutional, exemplified by the Prevention of Corruption Amendment Act 2018, which criminalizes bribery and strengthens provisions for prosecuting corrupt officials. The second, and potentially more impactful, approach is technological. The push for digital governance under the Digital India Initiative has been a powerful anti-corruption tool. The JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, Mobile, has streamlined welfare delivery through direct benefit transfers, DBT, significantly reducing leakages and middlemen by minimizing human intervention and direct cash handling in government transactions. Despite these measures, the fight is far from over. The effectiveness of anti-corruption laws is often tested by delays in prosecution, and digital exclusion can create new forms of marginalization. The continued vigilance of civil society organizations and independent media is therefore critical in investigating scandals, advocating for transparency, and holding power accountable, ensuring that the institutional fight against corruption remains a national priority. Slide 14, Success Story, India's Electoral Democracy. In a world experiencing democratic backsliding, India's electoral democracy stands as a formidable institutional success story. The administration of the world's largest democratic exercise by the Election Commission of India, ECI, is a monumental achievement in logistics, integrity, and inclusivity, serving as a bedrock of the nation's political stability. The scale of Indian elections is unparalleled. The 2019 Lok Sabha elections saw a voter base of over 900 million, with turnout exceeding 67%, a testament to the deep-rooted faith of the Indian electorate in the process. The ECI's own reports detail the immense logistical feat of deploying over 1 million polling stations, often in extremely remote locations, to ensure every citizen can exercise their franchise. Election Commission of India, 2022. The recent 2024 general elections further cemented this, with a turnout of over 64% in an even larger electorate, demonstrating the consistent robustness of the system. A cornerstone of this success has been the widespread use of electronic voting machines, EVMs. Introduced to enhance speed and accuracy, the ECI maintains that EVMs, coupled with voter-verifiable paper audit trails, VVPATs, have significantly reduced electoral fraud and booth capturing, making the process more transparent and credible. While debates around their use persist, their role in streamlining a colossal exercise is undeniable. Election Commission of India, 2023. Furthermore, the ECI's independence and constitutional authority are critical. It has consistently demonstrated the power to enforce a model code of conduct, MCC, leveling the playing field by taking action against powerful incumbent politicians and parties for violations. This enforcement has been crucial in ensuring that elections remain free and fair. Beyond administration, India's electoral framework promotes political inclusivity. Constitutional amendments mandating reservations for scheduled castes, SCs, scheduled tribes, STs, and women in local bodies, panchayats and municipalities, have empowered marginalized communities. The Ministry of Panchayati Raj notes that over 1.4 million elected women representatives are currently in office, ensuring their voices are heard in governance and steadily transforming the political landscape. Ministry of Panchayati Raj, 2024. In conclusion, India's electoral democracy, managed by a fiercely independent commission, is a powerful example of institutional strength. Its ability to conduct regular, inclusive, and credible elections on a staggering scale underpins the nation's democratic resilience and offers a model of large-scale democratic participation for the world. Slide 15. Technology Solutions for SDG 16. Emerging technologies are providing unprecedented tools to advance Sustainable Development Goal 16, offering measurable improvements in the fight against corruption, the efficiency of justice, and the reliability of data. The potential impacts are significant, with technologies like blockchain, AI, and remote sensing driving tangible progress in governance and institutional strength. The fight against corruption is being revolutionized by blockchain technology. Its application in public procurement creates an immutable, transparent ledger for all transactions. According to a 2023 World Bank report on blockchain, such systems can significantly reduce opportunities for graft by making it nearly impossible to alter bidding records or payment flows without detection. By automating and securing these processes, blockchain-based systems have the potential to achieve a 5% reduction in corruption in key areas like public contracting, as estimated by governance experts, by minimizing human discretion and opaque dealings. World Bank, 2023. Within the justice sector, artificial intelligence, AI, is dramatically enhancing efficiency. AI-powered tools are capable of automating the review of legal documents, predicting case outcomes, and assisting in legal research. The OECD's 2024 analysis of AI in public services highlights that these applications can reduce the time legal professionals spend on routine tasks. This allows courts and law firms to handle case loads more efficiently, potentially leading to a 40% improvement in case resolution speed for certain types of disputes, thereby reducing the massive backlogs that plague judicial systems worldwide. OECD 2024. Furthermore, the accuracy of monitoring and data collection, essential for evidence-based policy and conflict prevention, is being transformed by geospatial technology. The United Nations Satellite Center, UNOSAT, utilizes high-resolution satellite imagery and remote sensing to monitor conflicts, human displacement, and environmental changes. As noted in their 2023 activity report, this technology provides objective, verifiable data that is far superior to ground reports alone in many scenarios, enabling an 80% increase in data accuracy for tracking SDG 16 indicators related to violence and access to public services, UNOSAT 2023. In conclusion, the strategic deployment of blockchain, AI, and geospatial technology is not a futuristic concept but a present-day solution. By delivering concrete gains in reducing corruption, accelerating justice, and ensuring data integrity, these digital tools are proving to be indispensable for building the effective, accountable, and transparent institutions required for sustainable development. Slide 16. Peace initiatives that work. In a global landscape often dominated by news of conflict, evidence-based peace initiatives demonstrate that sustainable peace is achievable through strategies that are inclusive, locally led, and address underlying drivers of violence. Successful approaches move beyond temporary ceasefires to build resilient social structures capable of withstanding political and economic shocks. A cornerstone of effective peacebuilding is community-based conflict resolution. These initiatives leverage local knowledge and legitimacy to escalate tensions before they erupt into widespread violence. As documented by Conciliation Resources in their 2023 report, local peace committees in regions like Karamaya, Uganda, have been instrumental in mediating disputes over resources and cattle, significantly reducing retaliatory violence by restoring dialogue and trust between communities. Conciliation Resources, 2023. Furthermore, youth engagement programs are critical for breaking cycles of violence. By treating young people as agents of peace rather than as a risk factor, these initiatives provide positive alternatives to joining armed groups. A notable example is the work of Search for Common Ground, whose 2024 impact assessment in the Central African Republic showed a 40% increase in youth confidence in peaceful conflict resolution after participation in sports, dialogue, and vocational training programs designed to foster social cohesion. Search for Common Ground, 2024. The evidence for gender-responsive peacebuilding is also compelling. The UN Women's 2024 report, Beyond the Numbers, reinforces the slide's claim, showing that the meaningful participation of women in peace processes leads to more comprehensive and durable agreements. This is because women often bring broader community concerns to the table, ensuring that agreements address root causes like social inequality and access to essential services, which are vital for long-term stability. UN Women, 2024. These initiatives share a common thread. They invest in long-term relationship building and address the root causes of conflict, such as marginalization, lack of opportunity, and historical grievances, rather than merely suppressing its symptoms. This focus on creating inclusive, locally owned peace structures offers the most promising pathway to sustainable and just societies. Slide 17. Data Revolution for SDG 16. The pursuit of peace, justice, and strong institutions, SDG 16, is undergoing a fundamental shift, driven by a data revolution. This transition from traditional, limited data collection to dynamic, data-driven approaches is enabling more transparent, effective, and accountable governance by providing an unprecedented understanding of institutional performance and citizen needs. The contrast between the old and new paradigms is stark. The traditional approach relied on infrequent surveys, national-level aggregates that masked local inequalities, and slow, expensive collection methods. This often resulted in outdated information that was poorly linked to policy decisions. In contrast, the data-driven approach, as championed by the World Bank's 2023 World Development Report, Data for Better Lives, leverages real-time data from diverse sources, including administrative records and citizen feedback. This allows for disaggregated analysis that reveals localized patterns of exclusion or corruption, enabling targeted interventions. World Bank, 2023. A powerful example of this revolution in action is the use of integrated data systems in service delivery. The slide's mention of Kenya's Huduma centers is a case in point. By tracking service transactions in real time, these one-stop shops have dramatically reduced processing delays. This model is part of a broader global trend where open government data (OGD) platforms, as tracked by the OECD's OUR Data Index 2024, are becoming critical tools. By making non-sensitive government data publicly accessible, these platforms empower citizens, journalists, and civil society to scrutinize public spending and institutional performance, directly fostering accountability. OECD 2024. Furthermore, the revolution encompasses new forms of measurement. Beyond traditional metrics, perception surveys, like those conducted by Transparency International, track public trust in key institutions. Meanwhile, the integration of qualitative, thick data from community engagements provides crucial context to quantitative numbers, revealing the human stories behind governance challenges. In conclusion, the data revolution for SDG 16 is moving measurement from a static, backward-looking exercise to a dynamic tool for real-time management and public oversight. By harnessing diverse, disaggregated, and open data, governments and citizens can collaboratively build the evidence base needed to create more effective, just, and inclusive institutions. Slide 18, Civil Society, the Accountability Engine. In the architecture of democratic governance, civil society organizations, CSOs, function as a vital accountability engine, ensuring that power is exercised transparently and responsively. Through their independent oversight, advocacy, and innovative approaches, they bridge the gap between citizens and the state, strengthening the very foundations of SDG 16. A core function of civil society is independent monitoring. By tracking government expenditures and actions, CSOs expose corruption and inefficiency. A powerful example is the work of Transparency International's chapters worldwide. Their Government Defense Integrity Index 2023 provides independent assessments of corruption risks in national defense sectors, an area often shrouded in secrecy, thereby pushing for greater transparency and accountability in significant public spending. Transparency International, 2023. Furthermore, civil society is instrumental in policy advocacy and amplifying citizen voices. Grassroots movements often lay the groundwork for transformative national legislation. The legacy of India's Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, which led to the Right to Information Act, continues today. Globally, organizations like the Open Government Partnership, OGP, support civil society cohorts in 2024 to advocate for and co-create ambitious national action plans with their governments, ensuring that reforms address real citizen grievances and promote open governance. Open Government Partnership, 2024. CSOs also excel as innovators and bridge builders. They pilot community-based solutions that governments can later adopt and scale. For instance, the World Bank's Citizen Engagement in PFM report, 2023, highlights how social accountability initiatives, such as community scorecards and participatory budgeting, have improved the quality of public service delivery in sectors like health and education by directly incorporating user feedback into performance reviews. World Bank, 2023. In essence, civil society acts as a crucial counterweight to state power and a conduit for citizen participation. By monitoring power, advocating for justice, and testing new solutions, these organizations are indispensable for creating the transparent, accountable, and inclusive institutions that are the hallmark of peaceful and just societies. Their space and ability to operate freely are thus fundamental to sustainable development. Slide 19. Private sector role in advancing SDG 16. The private sector is increasingly recognized as a critical partner in advancing Sustainable Development Goal 16, moving beyond traditional philanthropy to integrate peace, justice, and strong institutions directly into core business strategies. This engagement manifests through innovative partnerships, responsible supply chain management, and market-based solutions to governance challenges. A significant contribution comes through business-government partnerships, where corporate expertise and technology are leveraged to enhance public service delivery. As highlighted by the World Economic Forum's Digital Transformation Initiative 2024, collaborations between tech firms like Microsoft and governments have been pivotal in modernizing public administration, improving efficiency, and expanding digital access for citizens, thereby strengthening the state-citizen interface. World Economic Forum 2024. Furthermore, the governance of global supply chains has become a front line for corporate responsibility. In response to growing regulatory pressure, such as the EU's Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, CSDDD, major corporations are implementing rigorous human rights and environmental due diligence. A 2023 report from the Business and Human Rights Resource Center documented a significant increase in companies publishing human rights policies, directly contributing to SDG 16 by reducing labor exploitation and promoting the rule of law within economic ecosystems. Business and Human Rights Resource Center, 2023. Moreover, the private sector is a powerful engine of social innovation. Companies are developing products and services that specifically address institutional gaps. A prime example is Zipline, which uses autonomous drones to deliver critical medical supplies in Rwanda and Ghana. The World Bank's International Finance Corporation, IFC, has invested in such ventures, noting in a 2024 brief that they enhance the reach and effectiveness of public health systems in remote areas, effectively building resilience where traditional state institutions struggle. IFC, 2024. In conclusion, the private sector's role in advancing SDG 16 is multifaceted and essential. By partnering with governments, enforcing ethical standards in supply chains, and developing innovative solutions, businesses are not only mitigating risks but also actively contributing to the creation of more transparent, accountable, and effective institutions, proving that sustainable development and responsible business are mutually reinforcing. Slide 20. The path forward. Priorities for SDG 16. As the 2030 deadline for the Sustainable Development Goals approaches, accelerating progress on SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, is both an urgent and strategic imperative. The path forward must be guided by clear priorities that address existing gaps and leverage emerging opportunities to build inclusive, effective, and accountable governance for all. The foremost priority is inclusive governance. This requires moving beyond token representation to ensure the meaningful participation of women, youth, minorities, and marginalized communities in decision-making. As emphasized in UN Women's Feminist Plan for Sustainability and Social Justice, 2024, diverse leadership is not merely a matter of equity but of effectiveness, leading to more resilient and widely supported policy outcomes that address the needs of the entire population. UN Women, 2024. Simultaneously, a thoughtful digital transformation of the public sector is non-negotiable. Technologies like AI and blockchain offer powerful tools to enhance transparency and streamline service delivery. However, as the World Bank's GovTech Maturity Index 2024 warns, this must be pursued alongside robust digital inclusion strategies to close the digital divide and prevent the creation of a new, technologically marginalized underclass. World Bank, 2024. The goal is to use technology to reinforce, not replace, human rights and equity. Finally, localization is key to sustainable impact. Global frameworks must be adapted to local contexts, building upon indigenous governance structures and community-led initiatives. The United Nations Development Programme's UNDP, Localizing the SDGs Initiative, 2023, has demonstrated that reforms are more successful and durable when they are owned and driven by local actors, from municipal governments to community-based organizations. UNDP, 2023. Achieving these priorities demands renewed political will, increased and smarter financing for governance, and strengthened multi-stakeholder partnerships. By decisively investing in the foundational elements of SDG 16, inclusion, digital equity, and local ownership, we can create a virtuous cycle where effective institutions enable progress across all other development goals, from health and education to climate action and economic growth. This brings end to our presentation. As we move forward, we shall begin exploring the last Sustainable Development Goals, i.e., SDG 17, strengthening global partnerships for sustainable development. We encourage you to stay connected with our channel for the upcoming session, and to share this content with fellow professionals who share their passion for sustainable development with our channel. Until then, I wish you all about their professional journey filled with excitement, challenges and sustainable prosperity.